As I've mentioned, memories do indeed have mass, albeit very small. In fact, even information stored in a cloud, such as things stored by Google in a Google Cloud, also have memory, also have mass. It's very small mass as well. But memory is stored in the DNA of our neurons. Neurons are nerve cells in our brain and spinal cord, and we have 86 billion of them. And when we store a memory, there's actually an encoding that happens into the DNA. And it makes this change in the neuron. And to recall a memory, several or many, might even be thousands of neurons, will light up in a choreography to cause us to remember something. When you're ready, move to the next slide. Beyond mass, though, even more importantly, our brain takes a fair amount of our total metabolic energy requirements. At rest, about 15% of our total metabolic energy is used up by the brain. In other words, all the sugar used as energy, about 15% of that is used at rest by our brain. During periods of very intense thinking, this may increase significantly. It's thought that intense thinking burns 10 to 50 calories per day. That may not sound like a lot, but it's to show us that the activity in our brain uses more energy. And if your brain is stored in negative memory, something that you're ruminating on, something maybe with deep regret or you hold with anger, it's like your computer is always running in the background. It's never turned off. And while this may seem like a benefit, a calorie burning benefit, the problem is it actually creates a stress response. And long-term stress, as we've learned, creates chronic stress, which can be harmful to the body. So if we continue to think negative thoughts over and over again, the body and the brain become very efficient. There's a saying that says that neurons that fire together, wire together. So in other words, as these nerve cells continue to reproduce this memory, it deepens the groove, if you will. It allows us to recall it with greater and greater ease. And the problem again with this is that we then can get into this chronic stress cycle. When you're ready, move to the next slide. So you may want to know, if you have negative memories, can they be deleted? And it turns out that they can. In rat studies, it's been shown that by deleting certain cells, neurons that get activated with the memory is permanently erased. Of course, we're not going to be inserting electrical probes to delete brain cells with this process, but we can delete them by simply not using them. So we have to become aware, first of all, of what's happening. Become aware of this memory. Because as I said, if it's running in the background, it's like your computer that's never turned off. And as these neurons continue to fire like this, it increases their efficiency. So we need to become aware of it and turn it off. So the brain is much like a muscle. It adapts, much like muscles adapt to strengthening. If we think a certain way, eventually the brain responds and activates new sequences of neurons. In fact, this is how learning happens. And if you can learn something or remember something, you can also unlearn it. When you're ready, move to the next slide. So as I mentioned, it's important with memories to check in and see which programs are running in the background. As you know, with your computer, it has software that helps to detect any viruses or malware or spyware that might be doing something malicious to your computer. So bad or negative memories are kind of like malware. It's wreaking havoc on our system, and we need to delete it. And a good way to do this is to practice something called Oponopono, to forgive and to reconcile. When you're ready, move to the next slide. Oponopono is a Polynesian practice known mainly from Tahiti and Hawaii. And it was originally conducted by healing priests known as kahunas. And the Polynesians believed that a person's errors, known as hala, created these feelings of guilt or remorse leading to illness. Also, breaking spiritual laws known as kapu led to illness. The Polynesians also believed that anger leads to illness. So the word ho'oponopono, ho'o, to, or the act of, pono, goodness or morality, and when we put pono and pono together, it's to reconcile or make things right. So the healing priest or kahuna would work with a person or even an entire family just to help move things on or let them go. When you're ready, move to the next slide. The practice of ho'oponopono had all but vanished from the cultural practices of the Polynesians. With colonialism, many things, such as the monarchy, and these ancient practices, these ancient ways of living and healing, were abolished. Fortunately, a few decades ago, a man by the name of Hulen I Haleakala resurrected ho'oponopono. He wasn't the only one, but he was one of the more well-known people who brought back ho'oponopono to a modern-day practice. And he co-authored a book called Zero Limits. And I Haleakala was a prison psychologist in Honolulu and realized that by practicing forgiveness, that behavior rates in the prison system dramatically improved. And he came up with this mantra, including these 4 phrases: I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And you'll see sometimes different order with these 4 phrases. But these 4 phrases seem to be a powerful part of ho'oponopono and moving forward. When you're ready, we'll practice a ho'oponopono forgiveness meditation. Move to the next slide. Begin by being seated in an upright position, feet flat on the floor, hands in a symmetrical position, and begin to focus on your breath. At the sound of the bell, we'll begin our 5-minute forgiveness meditation. I want you to visualize on the top of your head, with your eyes closed, a lid. This lid could be a lid that's like a lid on a jam jar or a mayonnaise jar. And in your mind's eye, I'd like you to take your dominant hand and bring it up to the top of your head and begin to unscrew this lid. As the lid begins to free itself, remove this lid and place it somewhere in your mind's eye beside you. We now have a portal, an opening in the top of our head, which will allow us to go into our brain. finding these neurons or nerve cells, I'd like you to go within, stepping into your brain, and start to think about something you need to let go of. For some of us, it might be an event. Maybe it's a car accident or a memory of a car accident or some other form of trauma. Or perhaps it's somebody that you've been hanging on to, this feeling of anger, resentment. And know that this hanging on to this negativity serves you no purpose other than to contribute to chronic stress. If it is a person or an event, I'd like you to surround them in your mind's eye, if you can, with light. Don't be too worried about it if you find it's trouble to surround this person with light if you can't see that. Maybe you could see their name or some other detail. With this person or this event surrounded with light, I'd like you to repeat the following phrases. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Spend the next couple of minutes repeating these phrases. Every time you do it, notice the light growing in intensity. We are going to energize this memory before floating it away. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Continue this for another minute at your own pace. As you notice this light getting brighter and brighter, notice that there is some levity now to this memory, this person perhaps, or event. I'd like you now to see them as a glowing sphere of this light and start to move them out of your brain and start to see them go through this opening that you have in the top of your head where that lid was. See them float up, or this event floating up and out of your brain, high up into the sky like a bubble rising way up into the sky. With this memory now out of our system, we can begin to create new memories. Positive memories. I'd like you now in your mind's eye to go ahead and take that lid that you placed beside you. Bring it up to the top of your head and start to screw it down into place. At the sound of the bell, this will conclude today's meditation. Please know that Oponopono is a powerful practice, but it is a practice, it's a process. You may find that you need to do this regularly on a daily basis before you start to rewire the connections of these nerves, getting rid of this negative energy. I look forward to connecting with you again tomorrow.